prompter
You
for my
dusted the
webcam
prompter.
because it was just covered in dust, and I think the reflection of the dust is what was causing the the focus to constantly go bad.
Okay.
So tonight's the test.
Tonight's the test of whether it worked or not.
Yeah.
I see. Awesome.
It's very exciting times.
Doing it live.
Doing it live.
All right.
I
guess we should just do it.
We're here.
Hello and welcome to episode 1021 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026. I'm your host, Chris Johnston. With me, as always, from Canada, Mr. Greg Seward.
Yellow.
How's it going there, sir?
Pretty good. Just came from a lacrosse game. And supposed to be another one starting tomorrow night, which is why we're recording early this week. However, my son re-injured his knee tonight, so he's actually not playing tomorrow night.
Oh.
But it was too late to change our plans again, so welcome to the early show, everyone.
Yes.
It's not serious. He's just got a lingering we thought it was a meniscus tear, but it's something else, and I forget the name of the ligament. And it's just one of those things that's just, it'll eventually go away, but it just takes forever to heal properly. And you can re-injure it really easily. So, yeah.
So sitting out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got a very understanding coach, which is nice. So
that is good.
Yeah.
It's very good. Remember the times when coaches were not understanding? I had a few of those.
There's plenty of those around still. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. It's funny because it's easy to come across like the crazy sports parents videos and crazy coach videos, and you see news stories about that stuff, youth sports, especially when you're talking about like A-level sports and varsity sports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, my son hasn't played at the highest levels he plays everything, but he's only played at like the A level a few times, including this season. But for all the, for the years that he's been playing sports, and my daughter now as well, my youngest, and for all the different sports, we've come across a lot of parents and a lot of coaches. And I have to say, like, generally, really lucky. Like, generally very positive experiences. Usually really good coaches, some better than others, but never any abusive coaches.
That's good.
You worry about.
Of course.
So yeah, like overall, I think we've been pretty blessed to have good families, good parents, good coaches over the last 10 or so years. And
awesome.
Also that's all going to come to an end in the next couple of years. So
that's right.
You're getting older.
Unless your son goes into collegiate sports or something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, if that was the case, it would only be lacrosse, and there's not a lot of money for lacrosse, not in this part of the world. I mean, going Ivy League schools, yes, but otherwise you'd have to go west or south, and I don't know if that's a thing that's going to happen. Although we do get recruiters reaching out every now and then, so it's a possibility.
I see. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's how I'm doing. How are you doing, CJ?
I'm doing fine. Limping along.
Literally?
Literally, yeah. Turns out that rash that I had all over my legs and feet started to spread to my arms, and then also my legs and feet started swelling up. So I was like, oh no.
You're not pregnant?
No.
Okay.
Not that I know of. So I went back to urgent care again. They were like, oh, the Hiccup guy.
Wow. At least you made an impression, I guess.
I know, I guess so. And they couldn't figure out what was causing it, so they did some tests, and it turns out that my immune system just wanted to fight something, even though there wasn't anything there, probably related to the various sicknesses that I came down with all at once around Memorial Day. And so that was what it appears to be. So I got some medication for that, and it's been working out pretty well. So, although today I woke up with a bunch of like knee pain, so been icing my knee and playing video games. So,
Another week, another ailment.
I guess so. Not even the big 5-0 yet here.
Trust me, it doesn't get any better.
Yeah. I was watching a podcast earlier this week about the Ocarina of Time remake.
Oh yeah.
And from Good Vibes Gaming, which is a great channel. I enjoy their content quite a bit. And they're all young.
Okay.
So
I mean, that's not saying much now.
I know.
Because
they have to be.
I'm not saying that we're old, but I'm saying that, we're old for the games industry.
Old for the games industry,
yeah.
exactly. Well, they have to be mid-30s or younger, for sure.
Okay. So babies.
And they were referring to themselves as fellow olds. I was just like, oh God.
I'm gonna say we did the same thing. I remember
we did the same thing 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We probably did.
We've done, the EGM compendium that's coming out. This is not really a secret or anything anymore, but we did a roundtable, right?
Yeah.
With some of the editors that we worked with. There are excerpts of that in the book. And I remember telling a story about thinking that Shu was so old because he turned 30 while we were working there, right?
Yeah.
And that was just ancient.
It's ancient. So old.
Because we were all in a lot of us are in our early to mid 20s. So
yeah.
Anyway. Yep.
Oh,
definitely done that.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, let's talk about some video game news.
Did anything happen this week?
Oh yeah, a couple of things happened this week.
Okay.
I mean, Xbox is maybe going to close some studios. So we were talking last week about the Xbox reset memo. And then this week, Bloomberg announced, or they, put out a report that they've heard that Compulsion, Double Fine, and Ninja Theory specifically are facing closure. So, and a tidbit from Stephen Totillo, that in the Xbox showcase, they showed off Senua to attract investor potential buyer attention, which I think is absolutely freaking ludicrous. Although not clear on whether Ninja Theory knew that was going on at the time or not.
Right.
That's pretty freaking crazy. So yeah,
it's upsetting. I mean, we've talked about this at length over the last couple weeks. I feel the games industry is in a really weird spot, and Microsoft in particular. Anyway, it sucks. I hope that it sounds like all of these studios are also in the midst of trying to buy themselves back,
right,
from Microsoft. So I mean, hopefully that's
buy themselves back. But
again,
that doesn't mean that there won't be layoffs anyway at those studios.
Right.
Once they have done that, then they have to pay for, all of those, the upkeep.
And I mean, I don't know about your experience, but I mean, you worked on the publishing side for a long time.
I did, yeah.
But as someone who's most of my games development experience has been at third-party developers, contractors, and stuff like that. And but the difference between between the work that I've done and say places like Double Fine and Ninja Theory and stuff like that, is that we always just did contract work. Like we would bid for the contract, and then we would get the contract, and then we would work with the publisher to make the game. Whereas somebody like a Double Fine, and I'm thinking about this mostly because this has all kind of triggered me watching Psych Odyssey, which is a multi-part documentary series about the creation of Psychonauts 2.
Right.
And so there's a lot of footage and a lot of time spent on how, you know, Double Fine makes original games. That's their thing. And how they kind of launched Psychonauts 2. They did it, it wasn't with a Kickstarter, but it was crowdfunded. But I mean, it wasn't enough to get them to the finish line. And there's an episode where they're so relieved that Starbreeze actually comes in as a publisher at some point and injects the project with a bunch of cash. It's hard to get stuff done out there, especially if you're a studio that makes original games, especially if you're a studio that just kind of trying to live in that AAA space, which absolutely, or even like the AA space, I guess you would call it, although I don't even feel like that really exists at this point. But Ninja Theory and Compulsion and Ninja Theory and Compulsion and Double Fine is the examples we're talking about. They all absolutely live in that space, right? Like they don't release tiny games. They release big budget blockbuster games if they can.
Yeah.
And buying themselves back is great. I hope they can do it, because if it's that or dying, you know, I would rather those places still exist. But that's going to be an uphill struggle. Like if they're successful, you're right. They're going to have to tighten the belt again.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
Yeah. Stephen Totello's report about some of the Microsoft game studios has this graphic up at the top showing studios that have been already X'd. So that's half of Arcane. It was Arcane Austin.
Right.
And then Roundhouse, which I'm not familiar with what they
don't remember them.
On. And I'm not sure what studio this is. The Initiative. Oh, yes, the Initiative. They were working on Perfect Dark.
Toys for Bob are one of the companies that bought themselves back.
Toys for Bob bought themselves back, thankfully. Rare, this picture here, it's funny because this is an Everwild screenshot, and that game got canceled. So
right,
I would put Rare. What are they going to do after Sea of Thieves?
I don't know.
Dwindles.
I thought it was interesting that they were pushing new Sea of Thieves stuff actually at the most recent. I keep calling it a direct. I know it's not not a direct,
Xbox Game Showcase.
Showcase. Thank you. I just call all of them directs, but I know that's not really the right terminology. Yeah. But yeah, right. I don't know. But I mean, Rare is a weird case anyway, because it felt like they had them for so long and didn't know what to do with them.
And didn't know what to do with them. And then they were spinning on this game, which apparently had a decent direction, but they canceled it. So we'll never know.
Yeah.
The other thing is that sort of related with Rare, Xbox Game Studios boss Craig Duncan, who used to be in charge of Rare, is leaving the company. And then Louise O'Connor, who was chief of staff, also is leaving, and she was with Rare for a long time. You may recognize her as I believe the narrator in Viva Pinata.
Oh, wow.
She's been there for a long, long time, leaving. So I don't think that's great news either.
No, and you had a link on the outline here as well. Jason Schreier video, which I haven't been able to watch the whole thing, but I was watching it before we started. And it's interesting because he actually makes a point at one point in that video of calling out the was it 15 and 55 rule at Microsoft? Where if you've been at the company for 15 years and you're 55 years old, you can retire, and
all
a lot of all your stock will be and so it makes you kind of, I think what he's intimating when he says that is how maybe Asha's just trying to keep this thing limping along.
Maybe it's possible
to make sure she makes it to her 55. I don't know.
It's possible.
But
yeah, that Jason Schreier video is great. I'll link to that in the show notes. People should watch that.
It's depressing because he really does outline sort of the history of Xbox.
It's so depressing.
And how we got here.
And also highlights something we were talking about last week, which is they're going back to the strategy of 2014, 15, 16 with exclusive games. And that did not work for them.
Nope.
And what is their play now?
I think ultimately, I mean, they never recovered from Xbox One.
Nope.
And
I would say they never recovered. I would say they were getting bad before that. It's just that they were riding on the success of the Xbox 360.
well, the 360, yeah, did so well. But
Yeah.
and then I think that stuff that looked good up front, and I'm mostly referring to Game Pass here, and publishing on PC, which I think in hindsight look like short-term fixes for the situation they found themselves in with the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Right?
They were hoping, I think they were hoping that when they put out the Series X and S, that would change their fortunes around.
Yeah.
It did not.
Yeah. It just feels like they've spent the last, 20 or not 20, like 15 years, whenever the Xbox One was announced, recovering from that Xbox One announcement.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And some of those, I mean, I'm not saying the Game Pass is a bad idea or anything, but
No.
I don't know that it's ever been sustainable.
Especially not with day one first party games on it, because now you've taught consumers to not buy those games day one. You've taught them to check them out on the subscription service, and that is it. Right?
And for smaller games and indie games,
that can work.
That's not necessarily a terrible thing.
Right.
But for like a Call of Duty,
right,
that's bad.
Yeah.
You're leaving so much money on the table.
You kind of look at what PlayStation is doing with PlayStation Plus. They have that large game catalog that is available if you're on the extra or premium tier.
Right.
Plus, they have trials of newly released games if you're on premium, but they're not doing day one games.
No.
They do day one releases only about a half dozen times a year with select indies, and they're waiting a good amount of time before putting AAA games on the service.
Yeah.
So that's more sustainable. I'm almost glad at this point they did not follow Microsoft down the road that they went down, because otherwise we'd probably be seeing bad things happening on the PlayStation side as well.
Right. And the difference is that they didn't need to.
Right. They did not need to.
They weren't backed into a corner like Microsoft ended up being with the Xbox One.
And then of course Microsoft raised the price of Game Pass last year by 50%, and that just like soured everything.
Yeah.
Enough of that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something more
me.
More positive. Grand Theft Auto 6. We got a box art reveal.
The reason that all of your games are coming out in September.
Right. It's targeting November, of course, and we have the box art reveal, and we've found out that pre-orders on digital and at retail begins June 25th. So yeah.
Are you going to pre-order? You're not going to pre-order this, are you?
Excited are you? I don't think so.
I don't. I'm not excited to pre-order it. I'm not a pre-order guy. So
you're not a pre-order guy?
No, not really.
Yeah,
I'm excited for the game. I'm excited for the game. I'm definitely going to play the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm not rushing out to digitally pre-order. I used to pre-order things when there was the worry of scarcity. Right. But that's not really a worry anymore because I buy everything digital.
It isn't. But I mean, I pre-order digital because I wanted to preload and be able to play right away on day one. So that's why I do it. I have Star Fox pre-ordered and preloaded on my Switch 2.
I find more often than not, those games come out, during a work day. So I just log into my various services on my mobile apps and buy and download things. Yeah. So I get home and it's ready for me.
I mean, Star Fox will come out at midnight on Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not getting up in the morning to play it.
No. Well, you don't do that? I do.
No, God, no.
I still do.
I get up in the morning and I go to work.
Well, I do that too. But I get up in the morning to also play some game that came out the night before. Sometimes. And then I think the only other pre-order I have going now is Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced.
How excited are you for that?
I'm very excited about that.
That was the kickoff for the pirate craze, right? For you, that was it.
Yeah,
Wasn't it?
that was basically the catalyst for everything that came after.
Here we all thought it was Cutthroat Island.
Nope, never saw it.
Nobody ever saw it.
Well, Shinobi: The Art of Vengeance is coming to Switch 2, including physical. However, there does not appear to be an upgrade option for owners of the Switch version. So, which I don't understand. Why would you not do that? Like, offer an upgrade path, even if it's like $5-10.
Yeah, that is weird.
Do something. Apparently, no way to do that. So, yeah,
lame.
At least not that they've said. I hope they are able to announce that there is an upgrade path. But I never bought it initially, so maybe I should pick it up on Switch too.
It's a great game.
I have heard that it is. I believe it.
I need to. Did that boss DLC come out? I think it probably
did. The villains.
Yeah, I need to.
I think it did.
Get that and play it.
Speaking of improvements, the original Switch eShop has been drastically improved in a new system update.
Yay!
So yeah, you remember?
Oh, I remember the Switch eShop sucking.
The Switch eShop being terrible.
Yeah.
Well, look at this.
Look how snappy that is.
Look at how snappy that is loading.
Wow, it makes me want to buy stuff.
Game key art. Yeah, that's pretty good. So it only took them, how many years? Almost 10 years to fix that. And the Switch 2 eShop is pretty good in that regard. So I don't find myself going back to the Switch 1 ever, really. So
no, me neither. Why would you?
You wouldn't.
I still have mine.
I have mine as well, but I'm no plans to even load it up.
Yeah.
And staying on the Switch for a second here, if you purchased Dispatch on the Switch, you know that it was censored. And now they have released an HR violations update.
So why?
To address some of the censorship on Switch 2 and Switch. Of course, some of the content is still not available because it isn't allowed on.
Oh, and it also adds optional censorship on PlayStation 5 and PC versions.
Correct. Yes. So you can.
That's funny.
Yeah. The cool thing is you can add more player options. So there's a mosaic option you can add if you would rather have it mosaiced, a blackout, which I think is the standard, and then chaotic, where it adds things like jorts or some kind of bun and some kind of cape.
What
to things.
Did they ever talk about why the Switch version was censored?
Yes, it's because various regions on Nintendo platforms, various regions have different requirements on what's acceptable and what's not. So instead of apparently they were out of time and money to do it, so they just censored everything to go across all Switch regions, and now the HR violations pack fixes that in some regions. So other regions still have to have everything censored, but in North America, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, they can you can have something different. So yeah,
neato,
unexpected, but I guess it's good that they're fixing it up as much as they can.
For sure. I mean, it's most of the censored bits are there for jokes anyway, and they're pretty funny.
Exactly. So. And even with the censor bar over them, it's pretty hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, it probably enhances the humor in some ways.
I think it does. I think it does. All right. Well, that's it for what you've been newsing. Greg, can you tell me more about what you have been playing this week?
I'll tell you what.
And why don't I see Gitaroo Man on your list?
I didn't have time to play it. What little time I did have this week was spent playing two games. One of them was Lego Batman. which
Legacy of the Dark Knight.
Legacy of the Dark Knight. I keep forgetting that part.
Yeah.
Which so as I mentioned before, like one of the things that I really enjoy about this is that they've kind of taken all the different Bativerses and combined them.
Yep.
So there's constant references to, well, actually it's funny because it's not just references to the different Batman movies and films movies and TV shows and stuff like that. But generally they like to make they like to get characters who are played by particular actors to reference some of their other works. Like Liam Neeson, there's definitely a Taken reference early on when you're dealing with Ra's al Ghul, who was played by Liam Neeson in the movies, and I'm trying to think. There was another character recently that I noticed another reference. There was sort of blink and you miss it moments, but it's cool to recognize them. But no, so I'm in a section now that's very heavily the Burton films. So Batman 89 and Batman Returns. And I mean, it's still sort of mixing the different universes, but like this section in particular is heavily themed on the Burton films. And I think I was talking last week about the whole scene about the creation of Two-Face. So I was the level I did most recently was the Flugelheim Museum, pretty famous scene in the Burton film. And I was just, like they walk in and the Joker says, "Let's broaden our minds," and and then they improve the artwork. And Lawrence, the Lego Lawrence, is there with a big boombox, and he turns it on, and lo and behold, it's playing Prince.
Hell yeah, it
they
is.
licensed the Party Man song for this level, which I just totally felt like Prince. So for anyone who hasn't seen Burton Batman, the entire movie, the soundtrack was written and performed by Prince. The entire soundtrack, not the score. That was Danny Elfman, but the soundtrack. And it is really good. It's one of my favorite soundtracks. Like
it is great.
I have the CD. I've listened to it so many times.
I had that on cassette,
yeah,
as well as the original score cassette when that came out.
Yeah, and I mean I'm a big Prince fan anyway, so yeah, I just totally fell in love with that. And the best part is that as you finish that level, there's a scene, they show, you get to a bunch of big bank of televisions and the Joker comes on, and it's basically the Smilex commercial from the movie where he's got the two models, the two dead models. I mean, they're not dead in the Lego game, who, just keep repeating, "Love that Joker." And he challenges Batman to the big Dukaroo, and he's going to drop, I don't know how many million on Gotham City. So he's setting up the parade scene, which is another scene that has a very famous song from the soundtrack in it. "Trust" is the song. So I'm guessing it's going to be included with some.
I would have to imagine. Yeah.
And I'm assuming that you'll be able to fly the Batwing, because that of course was a big part of the parade scene was Batman flying the Batwing. So anyway, I'm really enjoying it, and really looking forward to seeing some of the other stuff, because I mean I know there's references to the various animated shows in there. There haven't been a ton of references to 66 Batman yet, although you can get I'm driving around in the 66 Batmobile because I just love that car so much.
Nice.
But I also have the 89 Batmobile, which is one of my two favorites as well. So the open world isn't adding a ton to that game. I'm kind of really just I mean, there's a lot to do out there, but the linear levels are so much better than the open world stuff. But yeah, still really enjoying it. And they've introduced the Penguin. They've introduced Catwoman. She's actually a partner character in the game. And so far I've got Gordon and Catwoman as partner characters. And this is definitely a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. Although nice. one of the outfits I've unlocked is the 66 Batman Catwoman outfit as well. So, because you unlock outfits for all your support characters too, which is kind of cool. Which makes sense, because if you play 2-player, you can play as those characters. Yeah. True. Anyway, loving it, but I didn't play as much of it as I wanted this week, because actually today I was practicing for the 6-hour race at Watkins Glen in iRacing. So we have the GT7 Racing League through our Discord, and a handful of those folks are big into iRacing, which is a online racing sim, and they put on various event races every now and then, and one of them is the 6-hour endurance race at Watkins Glen, and I was asked to be part of one of the teams, and so that meant I needed to practice. And boy, oh boy, I love iRacing.
I see.
But, it's.
Do you have your rig out and everything?
I do, although I had to. The way my computer is set up, I can't really get my rig close enough to it to be very useful. So I was actually playing on my TV. I had to like rewire a bunch of stuff to get it to broadcast on my TV. So I need to see if I can come up with a better setup than that. But no, I had a really good time. I mean, it's rough because you practice a lot for these things, and it's kind of like, I mean, I guess, I don't know, the same idea as playing like a Souls game where, boy, if something goes wrong, there's really not much you can do about it.
Or
So
like
it was
a
on,
Destiny raid or something like that.
yeah, exactly, right? Like
It's going to be hours.
I ended up, so there was a multi-class race. There were only 2 classes on on the course that we were on, in the room we were on, but there were 69 or something like that cars, 6 teams on the track at once.
Okay.
And so it's crowded. And
Yeah.
we were driving GT3s, which are slower, and then there were these prototypes, which are quite a bit faster. But the thing is that means that there's a lot of racing going on. There's a lot of speed differential, a lot of closing speed differential. And if somebody spins in front of you, there's not really much you can do about it. So
Yeah.
I ended up starting 25th, I think. And I had worked my way all the way up to like 13th within the first few laps, and then one of the LMPs spun in front of me and I hit it. So I had to come to the pits and do a few minutes of repairs. Went back out in like 34th, 35th. And by the end of the 2 stints that I did, which was just about 2 hours total, I'd worked my way up to 10th. So I had a really good time.
All right.
We were never ever in danger of winning, because we're not that fast. But I was pretty proud of working my way through the field like that. And that's kind of what I play these games for, is to get a chance to actually do some racing, and I had a lot of fun. So I think we ended up finally like 23rd overall, because I was one of 3 team members, and some of my other teammates, Wanster and Compo, hacker aliases Wanster and Compo, had like technical difficulties and also got swept up in some wrecks. So, but overall, it was a lot of fun, and I think it was Compo's first time doing this, and he did a really great job. He had a couple of really good stints. So, looking forward to doing another endurance race at some point when I can find 2 more hours or so to give up on a weekend.
Nice.
And drive in circles. So. But
sounds fun.
Yeah, I need to find a better setup for that. But it was fun to get back, because I haven't played iRacing in a year. The last time I played it was this race last year. So it was fun to get back into it. I always have a good time.
I see.
So yeah, that's what I was playing this week.
Very nice. Well, I have been playing a racing game too.
I see that.
Parking Garage Rally Circuit.
So is this a sequel to Parking Garage Rally?
No, this is it just came out on the Switch.
Oh, okay. So this is the game that's like supposed to look like a Saturn game, right?
And it does. Does it not?
It does look pretty close to a Saturn game. Yep.
A Saturn or PS1, early PS1.
I'd say either, but I think
yeah. Anyway, you are racing around parking garages, and they have various locales. One of my favorites is the Seattle airport, which, I have driven in the parking garage of the Seattle airport quite a few times.
Have you raced through it?
Now I have. So on my next trip there, I can just drift all the way up those corkscrew ramps. That'll be great. But yeah, this is a fun little game. It's like $8 on Switch. Like, so I think I saw one of our listeners playing it last night and was like, you know what? $8? Sure, why not?
I think I have it on Steam. I know I've played it. I
Yeah.
either have it on Steam or PlayStation 5. I can't remember which.
Yeah. Anyway, just really enjoyable. Just fun little racing game. Fun drifting physics and all of that. You can customize your cars. It looks like there's a lot of fun options there, and for the price, I mean, $8. Yeah.
How can you go wrong?
Sometimes you just have to impulse buy some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. I played some Parking Garage Rally Circuit. So
fantastic.
Good stuff. I also finished Pragmata.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I picked this
Congratulations.
back up again and finished it. They made an update to the game earlier this week where they added back the I don't know if you remember this during the demo, one of the cosmetics you could change into as Hugh was a version of the spacesuit that had Diana's scribbles all over it.
I do remember that.
The scribble suit.
Mm-hmm.
So they added that to the full game. It was not an optional.
That wasn't in the full game?
No, it was not in the full game. It was special for the demo.
Oh, okay.
So they added that to the full game. So I switched to it for the end bits, which is hilarious because Diana has drawn like a great big face and a smiley face on the helmets. So that was great. And yeah, so I finished the game. I went back and like 100%ed some of the areas that I had not already done so in. So I was like probably pretty overpowered for the final boss battle. But yeah, this game is really good all the way to the end. Like the level design is fantastic. The amount of challenge is great. Combat, I love it. All of the power-ups that you have and all the cool weapons. Like I'm just I'm really enamored with this game. It feels like a very tight experience as well. And it took me about 15 hours to finish the game.
That's not bad. That's a good length.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
And I may go back in and eke out some of the content that I didn't already do. I didn't do a whole bunch of the training missions, which are like timed challenges. And I unlocked a new game plus. So that's a possibility. I could go in with all of my powers and run through it again, but not sure I will do that. But had a whole lot of fun playing this.
So now it's time to go over to 007.
It is time to go over to 007. That's true. But I did not do that. Instead,
okay,
I went to the Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade demo on Switch. I was like, our talk about the Star Fox demo and the Ocarina of Time discussion that we had last week, where I'm like, I'm hoping that it's more like Final Fantasy VII Remake or Resident Evil 4, like what Capcom has done with those Resident Evil games. So I went and loaded up the demo for Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade and played a bunch of that. Played through it on Switch and was like, you know what? I kind of want to see what's after this too. And then Intergrade is on PlayStation Plus game catalog. So I went in and loaded it up on PlayStation Plus game catalog, played a little bit further than the demo allows. So I finished chapter 2 of Remake Intergrade, and I don't know that I'll play much more of it, but I was just happy to see what all they've done with Final Fantasy VII.
Remind me, is this the updated version of the first chapter of the remakes? Yeah. Okay.
Well, Intergrade, it's the updated version of the original remake.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So
there are like some new things, and you can choose like an easy mode, which I did, and then you can also choose a head start, which starts you at level 45 experience. Nice. Which is also great because I don't want to have too much frustration, and that was what I experienced in playing it. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah, I don't know that I'll go back to it, but just playing it on one of the subscription services that I am already subscribed to seemed like
There
a
you
good
go.
idea.
Why not use it?
Speaking of subscription services, so Gitaroo Man came out on PlayStation Plus game catalog as well, and so I played that.
I'm gonna have to download that tonight.
I didn't do too terribly well on the first stage. I got through the tutorial fine.
Okay.
But then kind of whiffed it on the first stage, or maybe it was the second stage, actually.
So what was the problem?
The problem was just my fingers were not cooperating. It wasn't.
From what you've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, your whole body's falling apart. So
I know it wasn't the. I don't think it was the lag. I think it was just that I wasn't in the sort of call and response kind of PS2 music game mood. So, but yeah, it is one of my favorite games, and the lag actually seemed not unbearable. So it seemed very playable.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
The reason I was asking was just because, I mean, I love Gitaroo Man as well, but the sections where you're avoiding attacks, where the buttons come in from all four sides of the screen to the center,
I was having trouble.
That's always been difficult. Like even back when the game was new, I always found that was a bit of an awkward way to do things.
And plus, it goes from, you know, doing the note highway to then doing those button presses like right away.
Yeah.
And that ended up being what got me totally.
Yeah.
But of course,
not surprised.
This being a PlayStation Classics release, you can pause the game and rewind it.
Beautiful.
Which is good. And it looks great. They upscaled the graphics, so it looks really good. It is not in widescreen, it is 4:3. And it looks great.
Upgrade is nice though, because that was always a pretty looking game. So,
and it still is. It really is. And it is on PlayStation Plus game catalog, but you can buy it on PS5 if you're not a PS Plus subscriber.
How much?
$10.
Very worth it.
I don't know what it is Canadian, but
probably
$10. $10, not bad at all. I love this game and haven't played it for years. So whole years.
New York City.
Yes. I also played The Legend of Kage.
Yeah, explain this to me.
The Legend of Kage. Part of it was so this game and I have a bit of a history in that when my family decided to purchase an NES, which was back, I don't know, 87 or 88 at Child World in the Fox Valley Mall parking lot in Aurora, Illinois. I was there, my brother was there, my mom was there. We went shopping and they had the NES. And she said, "Okay, we'll buy it." And this like shocked both myself and my brother because my parents would never like buy something just outright the first time we went to look or whatever. But and then my mom said, "Okay, you each can get one game." So my game was Super Mario Brothers, which I believe was the pack-in.
Yes, that's kind of okay.
And then my brother picked The Legend of Kage. And so Hamster is doing this console archives thing, and they released this past week The Legend of Kage, or as I call it, The Legend of Kage.
Maybe the arcade game though.
No, the console version. They already had
wow.
released the arcade game, which I also own in part because of this nostalgia. So now I have both the NES version and the arcade version of The Legend of Kage.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
How is it?
It's great. It plays exactly like it did on the NES.
Weird how that happens.
I know that is weird. Plus, you can save your game state and load things up, and it also has the Famicom version of it, which doesn't look any different.
I'm trying to think if I ever actually played it.
Doesn't seem any different. Yeah,
I knew about it because
it's just like a high score chase game, really.
Right, like the Legend of Kage was like a meme before meme was a thing.
Really?
Everybody I knew about that game.
Really?
We all call it Legend of Kage.
Legend of Kage, yeah.
But I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone who played it.
Oh, I played the hell out of it back in the day.
Yeah, you probably had to.
It was, yeah, we got 2 games and that was it for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Except for renting.
Legend of Kage.
Legend of Kage. Great stuff. And it's the first console archives release that I bought. And
I didn't even know they were doing console archives. Now I'm intrigued.
Yeah, you knew. You knew.
They're doing arcade archives and arcade archives 2.
They announced this in February, and I forget what some of the first games were, but you definitely knew. We talked about it on the show.
Okay, well then
they just haven't. You forgot because they've been mostly releasing very obscure Japanese only market games that are untranslated. So, yeah, Cool Borders was the first.
They've already got a ton of them.
Cool Borders.
Really? Cool. I don't remember them releasing Cool Borders.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You're right. These are obscure.
They're very obscure.
L'Empereur.
Yeah, the Napoleon War Simulator from Koei.
Wow.
Yeah,
Fireworks for Kantaro's 53 Stations of the Tokaido. Man, actually, that years to get that.
That game looks really interesting. Like I watched the gameplay video and I was like, huh, this looks like an early NES sort of high score chase game. Might be interesting to play. I don't know.
Wow, they did the Ancient Ship of Doom. That's crazy.
They did, yeah. Yeah.
I am shocked. I didn't know about this.
You did know back in February. Just
I wasn't listening then.
You forgot. And speaking of not listening, I played Sea of Thieves this week as well. Yeah. They just launched season 20, which is custom seas.
But that game hasn't been around for 20 years.
Seasons only last like 3 months.
Okay. How am I ever going to catch up? 20 seasons behind.
You're not.
I know.
You're not. But custom seas is this thing. They've been talking about doing this for years, where you can set up custom games and custom servers with your friends and play. And instead of releasing it as something you have to pay extra for, they've done it as just this is now free for everybody. You can create your own custom servers and game types and rules and things. And
yeah, wasn't this what they showed at the showcase?
Yes. Yeah, this is what they showed at the showcase. And so it's now launched, and so I hopped in with our good friend Mike and some of our friends from across the pond in the UK, and had a bunch of fun, like spawning mega kegs and spawning megalodons. You can fast sail your ship over islands and things. Like you can really like break the logic of the game in quite a lot of fun ways. So.
Do they still have the single player mode?
It does, yeah. It has Safer Seas, which is the single player mode that you're thinking of.
I need to download that and play it some.
If you want to put, let me know. I'll play with you. I have never done the Secret of Monkey Island stuff.
We've been talking about doing that since it came out.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But now you can spawn enemies at your whim. And there's like a photo mode now, which didn't used to have. You can change what size ship you're on.
Really? It's taken them this long to do a photo mode? That's crazy.
Yeah, there was never. I mean, it's a shared world server. Like, how are you going to pause the action?
I suppose. Yeah. Right. Okay. Good point.
Yeah. So it's a cool little addition. I like it, and I think you can set up like game types and things for like larger multiplayer games with multiple crews and things. So I'm excited to see where this might go with the group of people that I play Sea of Thieves with most often. So we'll see how all of that develops.
Cool.
Yeah,
I should turn on my Xbox right now and download Sea of Thieves
if you want to. Yeah,
or I could use the app.
You could do that too. I have not turned on my Xbox in quite some time.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. Probably has to do a couple firmware updates.
Nah, it usually does that automatically.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know.
Well, I believe it is time to head to blue skies.
Blue skies. Blue skies with CJ.
Yep. All right, let's do this one from G toward GTFO, who says,
Dog toward kibble.
I'm sure you guys care greatly about soccer. Who's going to win the World Cup?
Not Canada.
Probably not the US.
Although we did finally win our first ever game on the men's side.
Oh, nice.
And before that, I think they played the game before that. They played to a draw or they lost. I don't know. But anyways, the first time they'd ever scored a goal in World Cup competition.
Oh.
So, hey, bravo, Canada.
There you go.
Yeah.
Excellent. I haven't really been following, although I go on Blue Sky and every day there's somebody that I follow is posting about the World Cup. Undoubtedly.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, I haven't really been following it either.
Or basically it's just a bunch of like posts like woo or like sports terminology that I don't know. That I'm like, this is related to the World Cup.
It's funny because I was taking my son over to his girlfriend plays softball, and he was going to one of her games today, and I was driving him over there, and we passed by a parade of people waving flags that I did not recognize. And at first I thought it might be some sort of like protest or maybe solidarity or something for something. And then my son was like, it might just be World Cup. Like maybe whatever country's flag that is just won their game or something like that. It's like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That might be exactly what it is.
Most likely, yes.
Yeah. I should look up and see what games were today and who won. Not right now, but just in general.
Let's do this one from hacker alias Motang, who says, I recently started playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on the Switch 2. Have either of you enjoyed that game?
Nope.
I will say
I tried to.
I can't because it gives me motion sickness, which I expected because machine games, basically all of their games, lack a field of view option
which is weird.
Allows me to play comfortably, so I cannot play it unless I'm wearing like my seasickness band, which I don't want to do.
All right.
And I don't have Game Pass anymore, so I'd have to pay for it. So
I wanted to like that so badly, and there's an off chance I'll go back and try it again. But I didn't like the first personness of it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it is one of those Switch 2 impossible ports, though, kind of like RE9 and Pragmata and Final Fantasy VII Remake that looks great on Switch, or I'm sure looks great on Switch. And yeah, I'm actually interested in Dragon's Dogma 2, maybe, because that's coming out on Switch 2. Like, I'm more interested in games that are getting these impossible ports.
You're such an easy mark.
I am a very easy mark. Absolutely. It's true. All right, let's do this one from a hacker alias Black and Green, who says, has there ever been a game that you thought you wouldn't enjoy or actively resisted playing that you were forced to play for review or otherwise that you absolutely fell in love with? I played Persona 5 out of spite. Ben Hansen from MinMax saying it couldn't be beaten, so I had to platinum it. And now it's my top 5 of all time. First of all, Ben Hansen is a great guy. Model citizen. And just because Ben Hansen does something can't be beaten, then it's your duty to go ahead and try to prove him wrong. Anyway,
I actually like that particular game, Persona 5. I played a lot of because a listener bought it for me to play on my stream. So I played it for a fair amount of time. And that game's it's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get into it. By the end, I was playing it because I felt obligated to play it.
My problem with any Persona game is that it's too talky.
Yeah, it's everything
But not
around, but it's so well done. Like that's what I'm saying.
not only that
So
it's
well
too
done.
talky, it's that which by the way, I mean the Yakuza series, which now I'm into the Yakuza games, they are also very talky. The difference is, I think, just the pacing of
Yeah, could be.
all the cinematics and like all the stretch of things that you have to deal with before you can save your game again.
Right.
Like I can't I need to be able to like put the game down like right away and like come back to it later. And that's not as easy to do on some platforms other than Xbox. Xbox Quick Resume, which is something that I hope PlayStation ends up stealing. That would be a nice feature to have.
Yeah.
With PS6 or whatever. Um,
I'm trying to find.
yeah.
I actually went onto the EGM compendium here to get a list of games that I reviewed. I
Oh,
don't remember playing a lot of these games,
yeah.
but I can't think of one off the top of my head that I didn't want to play and ended up really liking. Um, I don't remember playing
I
a lot
can't
of
either.
review games that I didn't want to play in general. Like,
I remember Rocket Robot on Wheels thinking that, oh man, Ubisoft platformer, this is going to be cookie cutter garbage. And then it
fair.
was brilliant and excellent, and it's a sucker punch game, and yeah, and a great game to boot.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I can't think of any.
I don't really remember many instances of I don't want to play this game and then I love it.
Right.
Doesn't
Yeah.
happen often.
I'm sure it's happened, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, me neither.
Sorry.
Yep. I think that might be it.
My bad.
I think that's it.
That was a quick episode.
That was a very quick episode. We talked about Xbox. That was it. The end.
I'm still looking through this list of reviews. I reviewed a lot of games for this magazine. Not as many as you, not even close, but still a lot.
And I remember all of them.
Here's my Merlin Racing review.
Merlin Racing. Oh shit. I think did I review that too?
No.
It was just
You had one person
reviews.
reviewing each of those games, and that was the one I reviewed.
Gosh, the new one.
The new one.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, Star Fox comes out this week. I'm very excited about that.
Oh my god, does it?
Did you play the demo?
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Are you playing the we didn't talk about it this week, obviously, but one of the other games of the month is Star Fox 64. Have you been playing?
I have not been playing Star Fox.
You should play some.
I will be in the lead up
before the new one comes out.
I will in the lead up to Star Fox coming out.
We can compare them when we talk about them next week.
And I can use the N64 controller on both. I think
I'm going to order one of those
on both NSO, and then it works in the new remake as well. So excited to try that.
Exciting times,
and I hope it does well because Villain Studios is pretty fantastic, and I want to see them succeed and do more games for Nintendo. So yeah. Anyway, The Adventures of Elliot came out last week. I want to play that, but there's so many other things that I have like started that I need to go back to and finish. I don't want to like start another game. So even though I started Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, but I'm not going to play any more of that. So.
Yeah, I got to get through Batman, but I think I can. Batman's pretty easy to pick up and put down. You know what I mean? Like because it's not like the mechanics are that involved. Although there are a fair amount of moves you can unlock in that game. But I think adding Star Fox to it's not going to be too difficult.
Yeah, Star Fox will be that'll be a very quick play.
Yeah.
And we got to do some multiplayer. Maybe.
Sure, why not?
with the game chat heads.
I don't have a camera.
You have a webcam. You just hook up a webcam.
Fair, I do have a webcam. You're not wrong.
Any webcam apparently works.
Any webcam will do. Okay.
Apparently, I don't know. All right, I mean,
I've got multiple webcams. All right, cool.
Under an hour. What?
I know.
How did
What
that
a
happen?
ripoff.
You got our after show already planned out?
I was going to ask you the same thing.
I did last week.
All right. Well, you know what? I've got a list of reviews that I wrote here. Maybe that can be the theme.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Okay.
All righty. And that is our show for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you have a question for us, would like to comment on something you heard, you can direct that to @P1 Podcast on the Blue Skies, or you can go to our internet website at player1podcast.com. It's new and refreshed. And there you can find our contact information. You will find bonus episodes, after shows, all the things. And you'll find show notes and links to all the things that we talked about during this episode, as well as a link to our Discord server where you can discuss this episode with us and our other listeners.
If you would like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by visiting player1podcast.com or by loading up your favorite podcast listening app. I won't go so fast. We're also on Spotify. You can like us on Facebook. You can watch video archives of our show on youtube.com/P1 Podcast. Or you can watch us live most weeks on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, etc. Actually, it's just those three. Just follow our Blue Sky account to find out when we're doing our next live show. Typically, it's every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, but it hasn't been for quite a while. But the lacrosse season is coming to an end very soon. So
okay. Then we'll get back to our regularly scheduled format.
And if you like what you heard, and how could you can head over to patreon.com/P1 Podcast. Throw a few shekels our way. It helps us keep the lights on. It's going to buy a copy of Star Fox for CJ and a webcam for me.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. But we do use that money to keep the show going. So please, please consider supporting us. And if you are a subscriber of the $5 tier,
cheap,
you gain special access to a weekly bonus episode where we record it live. After this, we play games, crack wise, do all the stuff we can't do on the regular show. CJ, we already decided that I'm going to do a review quiz today based on the reviews that I wrote for EGM. We're going to go through every single one.
Please no.
Tonight. Get ready for that.
It'll be a long show.
If you have a few bucks left over, please consider supporting me on patreon.com/Greg Stewart. $3
also cheap
gets you early access to every one of the videos that I release. It's been a while since I've released one, but I actually did start editing my latest video this week.
Nice.
So please consider supporting me. CJ.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for hosting this week.
Thank you, Greg.
In the middle of your latest health crisis.
Let's hope it's not going to be continuing for much longer. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in. We really appreciate you. We love having you as our listeners. We have a great community. Thank you for being part of it.
Yes.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.